After more than 1,000 days in Chinese custody, an emotional reunion. Michael Kovrig lands in Toronto and is greeted by his family. We'll have the details on how the two Michaels were welcomed today.
It is hard. I lost my baby and he's everything to me, so.
Dozens take to the streets of Toronto to remember the victims of gun violence in the city and call for change.
I hope it's loud, because if it's loud, then it helps them out, right? So.
The Leafs play their first preseason game tonight, and with new capacity limits just announced, many fans are ready to cheer on their team from their seats.
This is CBC Saturday News.
Hello, thanks for joining us. I'm Shannon Martin. A nightmare that spanned more than 1,000 days is now over for two Canadian men. The so-called two Michaels are back home after being detained for nearly 3 years in China.
It's wonderful. It's fantastic to be back home in Canada. And I'm immensely grateful for everybody
That's Michael Kovrig just hours ago after landing at Pearson International Airport in Toronto. His first stop of the day was in Calgary this morning alongside Michael Spavor. Here's more from Olivia Stefanovic on their remarkable homecoming.
Free at last. An emotional reunion, more than 1,000 days in the making.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Smiles and warm words, the end of a nightmare in a Chinese prison.
There are no words really to describe the emotions that have been going through all of us for the last 24 hours. Joy, relief, overwhelming gratitude for everyone who has worked to make this day happen. I'm so happy that we're here.
It's going to take me a while to process this, and I can't wait to actually see him and hug him, and it's a lot.
The homecoming began in the early morning hours. The Prime Minister and Foreign Affairs Minister, the first to meet the Michaels, embracing after they landed on Canadian soil, followed by laughter and tears.
These two men have been through an unbelievably difficult situation.
Last night, announcing the sudden release, Justin Trudeau praised the hard work of diplomats and a country that wouldn't give up hope.
And finally, I want to thank Canadians who have kept them in our thoughts and remain determined in the core value that Canadians have of standing up for each other.
The Michaels' fate tied to that of Meng Wanzhou. Huawei's chief financial officer boarded a plane home within minutes of the Canadians after reaching a deferred prosecution agreement with the U.S. Justice Department.
Sorry for the inconvenience caused.
The Michaels' freedom, interpreted as a quid pro quo. Meng, now back in China, spent her detention under house arrest in multi-million-dollar comfort, a stark contrast to the Michaels' ordeal, something this former detainee knows too well.
My cell was about 15 paces by 6.5. There were 14 wooden cots, wooden beds in it.
Kevin Garrett spent 2 years in Chinese detention before his release. He says the Michaels should focus on little things in freedom.
I would encourage them to take that time to walk in the park, to have fun with family.
And that's just what they plan to do.
See trees and sunlight and
Nature.
get close to nature for a while.
The first taste of a new life finally beyond walls. Olivia Stefanovic, CBC News, Ottawa.
With the two Michaels back in Canada and the Chinese technology executive also back on home soil, the saga appears to be over, or is it? Belle Puri looks at the possible impact on Canada-China relations.
Thank you, thank you.
It's been 24 hours of rejoicing on opposite sides of the world. The return of Huawei executive Meng Wanzhou to China, and the release and return of hostages Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor to Canada. With that, the immediate problem has been solved.
Now the question is where Ottawa is going to go in its hard choices with China, where the Chinese are going to go in their framing of what Canada means to them.
Getting the two countries' relationship back on track will take plenty of work. Experts doubt it'll return to the way it was prior to Meng and the Michaels.
We're going to have to create a new normal, which is based on a recognition that there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a sour mood among Canadians. To get to the new normal, we're going to have to persuade Canadians and Chinese that we have some constructive things we can do together, despite the differences that exist.
Those other issues the two countries can cooperate on range from climate change to pandemics.
I don't think it's Canada's job to mend this relationship. China was the aggressor here. China was the country that violated all principles of orderly international relations. It has left the community of nations as a regular participant. It's muscled its way through. So no, it's not for us to repair that relationship.
Political observers say it's going to take a variety of measures for Canada to figure out how to live with China. What happens next, experts say, we won't know for several weeks, depending on who's appointed to the re-elected Liberals' new federal cabinet. The next chapter in this story may include a new beginning for Canada's relationship with China, but clearly it won't be easy. Belle Puri, CBC News, Vancouver.
An overnight crash in Brampton has left one person dead and two others fighting for their lives. Peel Regional Police were called just after midnight. It appears a Chrysler sedan ran a red light, crashing into a tractor trailer making a left turn. The car then burst into flames. Emergency crews fought the fire as 3 people were trapped inside.
The damage was so high, there was a lot of effort put forth by the Brampton Fire Department and Peel paramedics to have these persons extracted from the vehicle and render life-saving methods to these individuals.
Police now working to confirm the victims' identities and urging witnesses to come forward. Police in London issuing a warning tonight for Western University students. It may be homecoming weekend, but officials want them to steer clear of big parties. The annual unsanctioned event happens on the last Saturday in September. It's usually marked by a large street party. The university is urging students to avoid gatherings in light of COVID, plus recent violence. Just last week, thousands of Western students called for an end to sexual violence. London police say they will be out in force in the area. The Daily Bread Food Bank kicking off its Thanksgiving food drive. In the past 6 months, visits to Daily Bread jumped 67% compared to the same months pre-COVID.
If current trends continue, it is expected that Toronto food banks will see 1.4 million visits by the end of this year. This Thanksgiving season, we have set an ambitious goal of raising 284,000 pounds of food and $3 million to help us meet the extraordinary growth in need.
Toronto Mayor John Tory was also there today talking about some of the long-term solutions the city is working towards to end poverty. He said that includes things like creating and attracting more jobs and building more affordable housing.
Are working hard on the poverty reduction measures, starting with housing. Because housing is something that is often the cause of people needing food banks, because they end up spending too much on their housing because there isn't enough affordable housing available. And I can tell you that thanks to the efforts of partnerships we have with the city and with a number of other nonprofit and for-profit organizations, we are literally in the process of building thousands of affordable housing units across the city.
As part of this year's program, 15,000 red bags will be handed out to those who need it most this Thanksgiving season. People will be able to refill those bags with non-perishable items. For more details on how to donate, you can visit dailybread.ca. Well, for the first time in 18 months tonight, the Toronto Maple Leafs are welcoming thousands of fans inside Scotiabank Arena. The Leafs are in preseason action tonight against the Montreal Canadiens. It comes just as the province eased some COVID capacity restrictions. Our Jessica Ng is there for us tonight. And Jessica, fans will notice some changes tonight, but they've got to be just so excited to be back.
They absolutely are. Now, for fans that have a ticket tonight, they say that they cannot wait to see the team go up against Montreal after that heartbreaking Game 7 loss to end last season. The provincial government says that they're now allowing up to 50% capacity at indoor settings that require proof of vaccination. So that means the Scotiabank Arena can host up to 9,900 people in the building. For fans that will be there tonight, they say that it's been far too long.
Too long, way too long.
Ben Smith has been awaiting the return of his beloved Toronto Maple Leafs. He has a ticket to tonight's preseason game, the first fans have been able to purchase tickets for since before the pandemic.
I hope it's loud, because if it's loud, then it helps them out, right?
Whether you're an established NHL player and you've been playing in the league a very long time, or you're a guy playing in your first NHL exhibition game, having fans makes a big difference.
And the team will need it. It's the first time they'll face the Montreal Canadiens since the playoffs' tense Game 7.
It means retribution. We were up 3-1 last year, and we lost. So we gotta win against Montreal.
It's also the first game back for team captain John Tavares after a knee to the head knocked him unconscious and he was taken off the ice in a stretcher.
The eerie silence as well. I mean, the players on both sides just all hoping for the same thing, for the player to be okay.
For him, it's a big step. He's put in a tremendous amount of work. I mean, what I've seen from him the first 2 days and this morning's speech here, he's focused and he's
Going to the Scotiabank Arena will be different than years past. Fans 12 and up will need to present a proof of vaccination and a government-issued ID to get in. You'll also need to wear a 3-ply mask unless you're actively eating or drinking, and
neck gaiters are not permitted.
You'll only be able to pay by debit and credit indoors. Before you leave to go to the game, you'll also need to complete a mandatory self-screening. Dr. Nahid Dasani says despite health measures at the arena, you still need to exercise caution.
We've all been in situations where we haven't been around people for so long. So this is going to be strange and it's going to be scary for some people. We have the passport system and people will be checking. That doesn't mean that, viruses cannot transmit.
But fans of the sport say the extra caution doesn't hamper the excitement.
I think people will feel more comfortable, so it's just exciting.
Anticipation that's also felt on the ice.
We're very excited. It's been talked about a lot. We miss the fans greatly.
Now, Sheldon Keith there saying that John Tavares has worked extremely hard going into this season. He also says that it makes all the difference to the players to actually have fans back in the building. Of course, the Leafs aren't the only NHL team to be able to take advantage of these raised capacity limits. Starting September 29th, fans of the Ottawa Senators will be able to go to Ottawa's Canadian Tire Centre for their home games, which start again on September 29th. Now in MLB action, capacity will be 10,000 people for the final homestand of the Toronto Blue Jays season. And behind me, of course, you can see that the excitement is palpable as people continue to file in for the 7 o'clock puck drop tonight. Shannon?
Yes, for sure. Nothing beats seeing it in real life. Thanks so much, Jessica. In other news tonight, Ontario is reporting 640 new COVID cases. Of the new cases, more than 400 were people who are not fully vaccinated or whose vaccination status is unknown. At this point, nearly 86% of Ontarians aged 12 years and older have received at least one dose, and more than 80% are now fully vaccinated. In Toronto, there's an ongoing push to boost those numbers. This weekend, the city and Toronto Public Health are rolling out their Shop and Vax campaign. The hope is to make vaccines as accessible as possible. Mobile clinics were set up at 5 shopping centers across the city. The clinics will also be offering first and second doses tomorrow between noon and 5. There are a number of other places in the city too, community centers, hospitals, and some subway stations. You can find out more at toronto.ca. Feels like we had a little of everything today. It was cool in the morning, sunshine, then all that rain. Safia Kambalia from the Weather Network is here with us now for our first look at the forecast. Hi, Safia.
Hi there, Shannon. Well, the first Saturday of fall really lived up to its name. It was a blustery end to the day. We lost a few degrees with all the rain that came through, even though it started off quite nice and balmy. As you mentioned, 15 right now is what we're currently sitting at. That rain is at your doorstep in Ajax, Peterborough, and Coburg. But really, the majority of the rain that we were supposed to have this weekend has already fallen. You may get a stray shower or two tomorrow afternoon, but we'll talk about that in a minute. For now, if you are heading out to Scotiabank Arena right after the show, then it will be dry, luckily, but it will be brisk, so you want to bring a sweater or two if you can. We'll feel like 13 and will be chilly, almost into the single digits for your overnight period. First Halloween haunt at Canada's Wonderland as well. So you want to make sure to bring a jacket and bundle up. All that cold overnight low temperatures will make for a fresh Sunday morning. We'll be into the single digits in Barrie, London, and Hamilton for your Sunday morning, but really it warms to quite a nice first Sunday of astronomical fall. We're talking a perfect, picture-perfect day for all the apple picking or pumpkin patch or corn maze plans that you may have. Maybe you want to head out and see that really early first sight of the fall colors in the long range. We'll talk about Monday and the start of the work week and how we're not quite done with the humidity yet, believe it or not.
Thank you. I'll take it. One man is dead, another in police custody after violence broke out inside a Mississauga home.
Despite all the efforts of our first responders and paramedics here, a 34-year-old male from Mississauga has died as a result of his injuries now.
The call came in around 10:45 this morning. Peel police call it an isolated incident. When officers arrived, as you heard, they found a 34-year-old man suffering life-threatening injuries. He later died. A 21-year-old man is in custody. Police say the two men knew each other and lived in the same residence. A powerful display of resilience and determination in downtown Toronto this afternoon. A group of mothers and people impacted by gun violence took over the streets. Today is the National Day of Remembrance for victims of homicide. Dahlia Ashry brings us that story.
The rain didn't stop dozens of mothers and community members from taking to the streets of downtown Toronto earlier this afternoon.
This is my nephew and niece, and I don't want them to grow up to be in this generation with guns and violence.
Today's Mother's Peace Walk was to honor those who've lost loved ones to gun violence. Teresa Jackson paid tribute to her son, who was shot and killed almost 2 years ago.
He was taken down in the North York area. He was shot in a lobby, and right now they still don't have his killer.
Sherry Bonelli also lost her son to gun violence over 5 years ago.
And it's been nothing but chaos and murders in our city when it comes to the gun, and it's a lot of our youth that we're losing.
She came down from Hamilton to stand in solidarity with the other mothers.
We're here to support each other in the same manner too, and make sure that these youth do get educated and do understand that the streets are no place for anyone.
According to Toronto police data, to date, 30 incidents of homicides related to shootings in Toronto. The most recent victim of gun violence, 27-year-old Thane Murray. He died in a triple shooting in Regent Park last weekend.
47% of Canadians say gun violence is a threat to their communities. That's according to public opinion research on firearms by Public Safety Canada. And many mothers at today's walk know the first-hand devastating impact it has on families. And organizers I spoke with are calling on all levels of government to take more action when it comes to keeping firearms off the streets of Ontario.
It is about border control, access to guns, but it's also a massive investment in communities that we know are neglected and underserved currently.
I would like to see them supporting companies like us one by one who are at this point putting our own money into supporting the community because we don't have the support that we deserve.
The federal government says it's taking steps towards strengthening Canada's gun laws and securing borders to prevent firearms from coming into Canada illegally. As for Bonelli, she hopes walks like these will continue to raise awareness.
Because people don't know what to say to you. They go, oh, should we approach them? Should we say anything? Yes, please approach us, because regardless if our children have been murdered, we are still here and we are their voice.
Dahlia Ashry, CBC News, Toronto.
Toronto Raptors superfan Nav Bhatia unveiling 4 new outdoor basketball courts in Mississauga. Players from the Malton Sting basketball team trying it all out for the first time. The Raptors superfan, who hasn't missed a home game since they began playing in the NBA in 1995, spoke about sharing that passion with the community.
Everybody knows basketball changed my life. And I hope these courts will bring people together for generations to come.
The project began back in February 2020 when the city announced the Nav Bhatia Superfan Foundation would be donating $150,000 to redevelop the courts.
What a great role
back.
model.
Yeah, totally. You got me thinking about like apple picking and pumpkin patches and all the fun fall stuff that we can do.
Yeah, as soon as my kids saw the pumpkins at the grocery stores, they said, when are we going? When are we going to the apple orchard and the pumpkin patch? You got the wagon rides, the corn mazes. It's making me not lament the end of summer so much when you think of cozy sweater weather. Maybe I'll be on pumpkin spice latte team soon. We'll see. So we got a warm start to the week. If you are still that summer lover like myself, humidity, it's back in our vocabulary, but it will come with a bit of an active price tag. And then we really have a nice, fair fall week for all of you like Shannon that are looking forward to that. So that heat builds with even a little bit of humidity on Monday after a really nice first Sunday of fall. And then what will the rest of the week have in store? Seasonal should be about 18 or 19 this time of year. Let's talk about winds for a minute because boy was it blustery throughout the day today. It'll be a southerly flow that comes in Sunday into Monday, and that's really going to be the difference maker in your temperature story. So as we look ahead to Monday, look at the humidity building. Feeling like 26 in Hamilton, feeling closer to 30 for those of you in southwestern Ontario, and Windsor feeling like 26 in London, even 23 for those of you here in the GTA and in Toronto. So it's a nice one-day warm-up. The kids won't know how to dress when they're heading out to the door at school throughout this week because it's still pretty fresh in the mornings. But there is some rain that could come in throughout the day Monday, especially Monday afternoon and evening. It will be light at times. And then really, besides that uptake on Monday, you are seasonal, dry, and fair for really the rest of the week. So it'll be really nice, cool overnight lows, which will make for some fresh, brisk mornings. You'll want to bundle up, but then really dry, plenty of sunshine, and some blue skies for really the rest of your long-range forecast. So not so shabby.
No, it sounds lovely. Thank you so much. Nice seeing you, Safia.
No problem. You as well.
That's our show for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. You can catch up on news anytime on our website, cbcnews.ca. Hope you have a great night, everyone.